Our sponsors this time around are Scigen, Albert Labs, Mindset Pharma, and Shroom. If you want to join in the conversation on social, we are on social at MicroDose HQ, hashtag SciCap, and you can find the Conscious Fund online at Funded Yourself. Turn your video and mic on. Spencer is the CEO at TheraPsil. TheraPsil is a nonprofit in the psychedelic space in Canada, doing some fantastic work. So I'm going to pass the mic off and let you tell the folks about what you're up to in the current time.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much, Patrick. And thank you for having me to this event to speak about TheraPsil and the work that's been going on. So my name is Spencer Hawkswell. I'm the CEO at TheraPsil. Let's talk about how TheraPsil started and what its purpose is. So TheraPsil was founded by Bruce Tobin back in 2016 after completing some psychedelic training and reviewing some of the research that was being done at NYU, Johns Hopkins, and UCLA that was showing that end-of-life patients were seeing significant decreases in end-of-life distress, anxiety, and demoralization from the use of psilocybin. And this was interesting because in Canada, as many of you may know, we have the right to die with medical assistance in dying. So a fundamental question popped up, and that was, if we have the right to die in Canada, don't we deserve the right to try something like psilocybin? So Bruce Tobin put together a Section 56 application, and this Section 56 application is similar to the ones that were first used by cancer patients and patients with AIDS back in the early 2000s to get access to cannabis. Back then, the Minister of Health, Alan Rock, at the time, was the one who was granting these exemptions for people to get access to cannabis, and this allowed a whole host of patients the right to grow and consume cannabis. So why not use the same system to get access to psilocybin? So back when, I think it must have been about 2019 September, I messaged Bruce, and we decided to get together to try and fast track this, as it looked like there was no response from the minister and that we might have to go to court. After a bit of time, we realized that there were a ton of patients that had been messaging us. So we decided to narrow down and focus on the end-of-life patients who had messaged us and get their voices to the minister. And so from January 2020 to August 4th, we were campaigning very hard to get patients such as Lori Brooks and Thomas Hartle access to psilocybin through Section 56. And on August 4th of 2020, the first 4 Section 56s were granted. So around the same time, we decided that this couldn't just be a single doctor getting access for our patients, but that an organization needed to be made because there were quite a few responsibilities that came with getting access for these patients. So we decided to put a mission together that would focus on access to psychedelics for Canadians in medical need. We would focus on access to psychedelics for the trainers or the healthcare practitioners so that we can get them training so that they can provide the best quality psychedelic psychotherapy. We wanted to educate the Canadian public, and we also wanted to help out with research so that we could push this forward and help more patients. So that brings us to, I guess, the end of 2020, where we got 19 healthcare practitioners access to psilocybin as well. And that was for the purpose of training. The argument we were using was, first of all, it was best practices and being employed by many of the researchers that were doing this therapy on patients. They were quite often creating a research study where they would give their therapists access to whichever psychedelic they would be using in that therapy. I think that the research proposals that were being put forward was actually to test its efficacy and safety, but in effect, it was actually being used as a training exercise. So we thought that just like most standard types of psychotherapy, such as cognitive behavioral therapy, the therapist actually goes through that to understand how the therapy works and create empathy and to solve some of the issues that they may be facing, as not to create any transference over to their patient. So similarly, we wanted to use those best practices and allow psychedelic psychotherapists access to psilocybin. And again, that was granted. So looking into 2021, I would say one of our biggest focuses is going to be training and getting as many qualified healthcare practitioners in Canada trained as possible. This has been a very interesting task, especially in this time with COVID. It's proven incredibly difficult to get people together in rooms and to provide, all of the necessary training tactics. So sometimes that is breathing exercises, and of course that's dangerous. So I think we're going to be starting off with the didactic side of training and getting information out to healthcare practitioners, and then eventually, once things calm down, launching our experiential training program. So more on that to come. Education is, again, something that is incredibly important, and I just want to try and make it clear how important education is for everything that's being done with all of the companies involved in this conference and everyone else that's working with psychedelics. Education, I like to think, is the reason that these patients got access. Is they put their own private health history and their story, their life story, out to the Canadian public. And out to the minister to ask for compassionate access. And so when we ran a poll back in, I think it must have been June, just before the exemptions, we asked a question, and it was, do you think that Canadians should have access to medical psilocybin? And off of hand, like top of mind, we got a 41% response. After that, we added a little piece to the next question. And it just mentioned that some terminally ill cancer patients were seeing some major improvements after a single session of psilocybin. We asked the question, now, do you think these people should get access to psilocybin? And it jumped 18 points to 59% approval for access to psilocybin. If this was a vote, that would be called a landslide. And it's really, really important to see how public opinion and the opinion of health officials can help us to change the landscape in Canada and hopefully around the world to allow patients access to psilocybin. Research as well is going to be incredibly important, and we hope to be able to run some observational research on the therapy that is currently being done right now. So as of today, we have helped 25 patients get access to psilocybin across 5 different provinces. Being able to share that, the results of the therapy with Health Canada, and being able to provide open science so that other organizations can learn from that is really important to us. And as an advocacy organization, we really believe it's our job to share that. So this comes at an interesting time. We're actually in the middle of doing some fundraising right now, and we're about 50% to our goal of $250,000 with only a few days left here. But our hope is that we can reach this goal or get as close as possible. We do have a very generous donor who's going to be matching donations. So any donations made, in effect, are doubled and will help us, because 2021 is going to be when COVID, hopefully clears up, and when we can get to incredibly important tasks such as training. And it's really something that we realize is important for a number of reasons. The first and foremost is we need qualified healthcare practitioners to be delivering psychedelic psychotherapy to patients. It's commonly said that this is a psychedelic renaissance, and that may be such. Psilocybin, MDMA, LSD, it's not yet legalized. And the best way to get it to a point where it can be legalized is, of course, research and advocacy. And I believe that training and educating the doctors, patients, and the public is a way to get it there faster and, more importantly, safely. Obviously, there is underground work being done. We see education and training as the best way to make sure that whatever is being done right now in Canada is being done at the absolute highest level of clinical integrity and excellence. So even the work that we're doing with the doctors, therapists, and patients, while there are very few rules beyond the fact that these patients have the right to possess and consume psilocybin, we still are ensuring that the healthcare practitioners that we're working with have access to the best training, are using the best patient inclusion criteria and the best protocols. If we can do that, then we can ensure the continued progression of psychedelics here in Canada, because I think it's obvious that something will go wrong one day. So making sure that we're protecting everyone and doing it as safely as possible should be of utmost importance. Furthermore, we want to make sure that the training and access is fair and equitable across Canada. So we do think it's important to expand to all of the provinces and territories and ensure that there is training available for healthcare practitioners in every part of Canada, no matter how far off, distant, or marginalized, because by ensuring that there are trained and qualified healthcare practitioners there, we can also ensure that patients in those areas do have access to psilocybin. So this is TheraPsil. You can check out our website, therapsil.ca, and I really hope that we can get a bit more support with our fundraising effort. And if anyone ever has any more questions or would like to learn more, check out the website. There's a ton of information on there. You can check up on all the most recent research. And if you do know anyone who needs access to psilocybin for end-of-life distress, you can certainly point them in our direction and have them sign up or send us an email through our web form. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Spencer, for sharing with us there. And just, again, a thank you for the work that you do. We really appreciate everything you're bringing to the industry. And, one thing I just wanted to ask real quick before we transition over to the next panel is, if somebody's watching this and maybe can make a small donation, but still wants to reach out and help and have an impact in some way, what are other ways that, you can be supported over at TheraPsil?
Absolutely. I mean, you can reach out to info@therapsil.ca. We've had a ton of people asking to support, volunteer. We're also always hiring too, and looking for new team members. So if anyone thinks they can add value or has any ideas, we're really trying to collaborate as much as we can. So that goes to everyone, healthcare practitioners, patients. Reach out and we'll do our best to get back to you. It is incredibly, we are incredibly busy at the moment and have a ton of emails coming in. But feel free to reach out, right? Share us on social media, help us get our message out there, because we have found it's incredibly hard to have our voices heard, even to reach patients. And it's amazing how many, people we still talk to that have no idea that, if you have end-of-life distress and end-of-life diagnosis in Canada, you can get access. This is a very difficult patient population to reach. And our stakeholders are our patients, right? These are the people that we work for. So any way you can spread the message and news, and if anyone needs help, if you can help them get help, then that's helping us. So feel free to message us, reach out on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and we'll do our best to get back to you.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Spencer. We're going to head over now to our sponsor panel with Psygen.
Awesome. Thank you, Patrick.